So hello everyone, good afternoon. And on behalf of YDMA, a warm welcome to all of you who have taken the time to join us today. I am Somata, I am a tech journalist, and I'll be your host for today's session. So for those who may be hearing about YDMA for the first time, uh, let, let me give you a quick introduction about YDMA. YDMA is Young Digital Managers Association. It is a community built for aspiring CIOs and next generation technology leaders. It's a platform where future digital leaders learn directly from industry CIOs, understand real transformation challenges, and build the mindset needed for modern IT leadership. Whether it's navigating cloud, AI, cybersecurity, or enterprise architecture, YDMA helps upcoming leaders get the clarity and confidence to step into bigger roles. Now, coming to today's theme, we are meeting at a time when the world is at the cusp of an AI revolution. Enterprises are racing towards performance at a scale we have never seen before. Data is growing, models are getting denser, and workloads are becoming increasingly compute intensive. But amid all this complexity, one truth stands out. AI succeeds only when the foundation is simple, scalable, and strong. And today we are going to talk exactly about that. Simplify AI, your foundation for the AI core. In this webinar today, we are extremely pleased that we are joined by two incredible leaders, Mr. Deepu KV, Senior President, Head, Operations and Customer Experience from Bajaj General Insurance, who will be bringing a real world view of how AI is transforming insurance. And we also have Vaibhav Sheshagar, GTM Head, IT Services from Sify Technologies Limited. He will be sharing strategic insights on operational excellence and the real world impact of AI in business. And he will also take us behind the scenes and explain what it really means to build an AI core and simplify the journey. To set the stage, let's begin with the technology lens first. So AI adoption often feels complex, multiple platforms, infrastructure gaps, data fragmentation. So to help us understand how enterprises can simplify this and build a strong AI foundation, I would like to invite Vaibhav Sheshagar to take us through it in detail. Over to you, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Soma. Thanks a lot. Really pleasure, and really happy to see participants on a Friday evening. That means AI certainly is a topic where everybody wants to know how it's really going to help simplify, and that's where Sify would really want to contribute and give certain frameworks and ideas. How can we really help simplify the AI adoption for the young digital aspiring CIOs and the enterprises? Let me quickly share my screen and give you a glimpse of what when you say simplify AI, because today it has been bombarded with lot many information. How can we really look at simplifying things?
So it's taking a bit of time,
Yeah.
and thanks everyone for joining in who are joining in the chat box and saying hi. Stay with us. We have a few interesting sessions lined up for you today. We will take you through it one by one. So stay with us.
All right. Let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Fantastic.
Over to you.
All right. All right. Okay. So typically when we have, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people on this webinar who have been part of the entire technology journey for last at least 15-20 years. And when you talk about cloud, when you talk about hosting, there has been phases of maturity. So what's the first phase typically that we face is being skeptical, which means, okay, is it really going to be helpful? How am I going to adopt? What are the parameters, what are the architectural design elements that we have to look at? So there are a lot of ifs and buts through which most of the enterprises and so
Vaibhav, you are
Correct.
not audible.
So yeah. Yes. So when we are saying that, okay, when we move to this phase of being AI skeptical, okay, we want to progress. When we say progressing, we are trying to explore what are the different use cases, how to start, what is I mean, what is that is available, how can we experiment with these. That's the level of maturity that we go through, and I think we all, as part of the enterprises, have seen this. And typically there are certain segments, okay, which could be starting from, let's say, be it from the banking or NBFC segments, or it could be healthcare or education, who wants to explore and understand. Then is where we come to the state of maturity. Once you have cleared the stage of exploration, done some mistakes, made some good learnings, you understand, okay, how to progress in this phase. That's where you would reach the stage of maturity, and then is where you become native. Today most of the enterprises are cloud native. I think is cloud is something which is by default, it is no more a boardroom conversation. But today AI is more like a boardroom conversation as to how, what is a plan to adopt and how it can really impact businesses. So what's a different level of landscapes? Okay, from the point of view where the CIO has the priorities. First and foremost is how can it have a better customer experience. Now the better customer experience could be from by either developing new products and services, innovating those products which will bring the customer experience at a next level. So you'll plan to innovate at the core, which means your products, your services are more oriented towards the customer. Today, these are how can it better it off? Can you create a more customer connect via through your chatbots, through your queries? How can you faster respond to them? So those are the areas where you try to innovate at the core. Enhance operational efficiency, which is again one of the very crucial areas where we have seen most of the enterprises trying to discuss and understand how can we really bring the efficiency at the operational level, so that we are better servicing our customers, we are better in supporting our entire development phases, and obviously generating new revenue streams. As we have tremendous amount of data which has been gathered over the years and through the experience, what you want to understand is which are the newer segments wherein we can have a new revenue stream develop. The answer could be lying in your own information, which you have gathered over the years. But with the help of AI, you are able to compute faster, you are able to decipher faster, you are able to identify those areas which possibly had taken a longer time. Now you are able to crunch it within a short span, and you're able to get those nuances and those details where it will help you to generate new revenue streams. So how do I really, and when you want to simplify things, there are already a lot of things at hand. How can you balance between the two? Which means there is a running business, there are running operations with certain standard tools, practices, and you want to bring in something new. This is how typically the thought process is. There is, on the left hand side, there are a lot of things which is there, but you want to get it more simplified. That's where Sify has brought in a four-pronged approach. First is, what are the typical use cases that you would want to address when you specifically, and I think I'm sure Deepu will concur with me, fraud and risk assessment. I think from a BFSI point of view, why? Because it deals with a very critical element in everybody's life, that's money, right? So there are a lot of there are ways and means. There are people who are trying to possibly make ways to steal the money. That's where most of the banks and the NBFCs are trying to see how can you prevent those using AI technology. Diagnostic assistance, industrial predictive maintenance, and those are typically towards the manufacturing segments. How different areas and use cases can you implement to have a better efficiency? Once you know what your use cases are, or let's say your KPIs in terms of where you want to take a first pitch at, you try to understand what is the data and your infrastructure layer, because finally you have the data which is either fragmented in different pockets. You want to put them into a more structured form where you're able to take more informed decision by processing the data more intelligently. You would want to put all the governance layer on top of it. Why? Because you do not want to have a garbage in, garbage out. You want to have more informed decision via very curated data. Either you're creating a data lake across different departments and you want to make more sensible decision making. Partners ecosystem plays a very important role. Why? Because when you're looking at different use cases, different avenues of revenue, you will have partners who have certain level of expertise with whom you want to associate. Now, where Sify is trying to play a role here is by bringing those partners onto the platform so that they're able to help you with a specific niche use cases, help to solve it, and onboard faster. Because as enterprises, for them individually to go and look for those partner ecosystems, all those partners could be a little difficult task. That's why we try to simplify by creating a marketplace kind of an environment for the partners to come and bring about their specific use cases, niche information and knowledge and expertise of the domain to present to the enterprises. Operationalize, very key element, because once you have done through the day zero and day one, which means identification and implementation, the next way you want to come to the level is operationalizing. That means a day to support, how it is run in a very systematic way, day on day, week on week, month on month. When we talk about when we are operationalizing things, there are different tools, there are different processes, and how we can embed in the source itself. So by embedding with your AI agents or via FinOps integration, you are able to operationalize things so that you don't have to look at it again and again, but wherein you can look at some newer areas or newer use cases. So every use case, once it is tried, tested, you can operationalize it. So that's how we are trying to make it more simplified process, very structured approach, so that the adoption of AI doesn't look a very Herculean task. So what are we doing on it? So once we understand the overall framework and the structure, there are a few simple things, right? The first is network. Why? Because when you're going to process data, you require a partner who can give you a coverage across India as well as globally. So today we are more than 1,700 cities which are connected across different tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cities in India. Whether we have our own landing stations across three different regions, which is covering the west, south, as well as the east. We have the most ultra low latency network fabric which has been laid out across different countries. So that why it is important, okay? Because when you're going to move data from different regions, it has to be faster. It has to be as if it is at real time. That experience, when you talk about customer experience, it cannot have a latency wherein the customer feels that there is somebody who is working in the backend. No, you are able to connect all the data, your tools, your platform is able to have a real-time conversation with the customer. That is where the customer feels more happy, more engaged with the enterprises. Once you have the network layer, the important another element is where are you going to process this huge amount of data, right? So you need to have the complete IT infrastructure along with data. Right. So when you look at it, what we have done over the years, while we have the data centers, which is in all the metro cities, largely covering Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Noida, we're also coming up with 26 edge data centers. Why do you require edge? Because today the customers are not concentrated only in the metro areas. They are also across different tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And you do not want to give them an experience which is differentiated from the one in metro cities. Hence, along with the network, you will also want to have your computational power enabled across different tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. And what we have also done importantly is while our data center in Mumbai as well as in Noida and Chennai are being certified by NVIDIA for the DGX computational power, we are building all the edge data centers which can also host the AI kind of workloads. So that enables to make the workloads lighter at the core. However, it at the edge, it is more distributed, more available, more faster. Once you have your foundations completely been laid down from a network and a data center, the digital layer comes into play. So what we have also developed, so we have our own cloud nodes, which is in the metro cities. We have all the hyperscalers. I mean, three out of four hyperscalers are hosted with us. Having said that, we have the partnerships and integrations with all the four hyperscalers, which means as a single service provider, we are able to give you options wherein you can choose where your cloud environment has to be, where your infrastructure layer has to be. It can be on Sify's CloudInfinit, it can be on any of the hyperscaler with a common orchestration layer, which is Sify CMP, which is a cloud management portal. That cloud management portal is completely enabled with all the AI tools, data models, agents, blueprints, which a customer can just deploy by click and drag. It's completely agnostic. You can deploy the platform across any infrastructure. So here, infrastructure is a decision which the customers can take. The most intelligent element here is the InfinitAI platform. Completely agnostic. We have verticalized blueprints, which means for any given segment, we have very specifically crafted blueprints basis on which the enterprises can take a decision which data models do they want to deploy, what kind of agents, what kind of user policies, what kind of controls and compliances they have to deploy. Helps you to optimize cost. When I say optimize, it is also intelligently give a lot of inputs as to where and how they can deploy, where they can optimize. And obviously, along with because of the agent AI agents capability that has been deployed, it is in a self-learning mode. So that's like a complete fabric which cuts across the network layer, your infra layer, and across the infra across different environments. So this is a complete consolidated view of how Sify is able to simplify the journey on AI for all the enterprises who have different questions, different paths, different maturity level. We're able to help them in that journey. Thanks a lot. That's from me. Very simple, uh, crisp, I guess, and could connect the dots as to how your journey could progress and how will CP be able to contribute in your journey. Over to you, Soma.
Thank you, Vaibhav. And thank you for the overview. That was a great overview and also a good primer for today's conversation. Now, let's bring both of our speakers together and dive deeper into the business and technology sides of building an AI core, as you have mentioned in your pitch deck also. So, we will explore what's working, where enterprises struggle, and what leaders should prioritize as they scale AI. So, I'll come to Mr. Deepu first. Yeah,
Yeah, good evening.
yeah, good evening. How are you?
Fine,
You're,
thank you. How are you?
yeah, I'm fine. So, we have few questions for both of you. We
Sure.
will ask that one by one,
Sure.
and it's about the today's theme only. So first, I will come to you, Mr. Deepu, first. So tell me, which AI initiatives in your organizations have delivered the highest value so far? Is it claims automation, underwriting augmentation, customer servicing, or fraud detection?
Good evening, everyone. So when you look at the area where AI has been able to make maximum impact in our organization, it's basically the area where the friction level was the highest before the deployment of AI. And typically we find maximum bang for the buck when it comes to customer facing areas. So I'll pick two areas. One is, in the area of claims, and I'll just explain this with an example. When we launched this, let's say earlier a customer crashed a car, he would have had to call up the insurance company and wait for the surveyor to come, assess the extent of damage, wait for him to submit the report, and then go through the whole process. Then we deployed an AI-based solution by which we did away with the surveyor up to certain limits in claims. So now the customer could take photographs of the damaged car himself and just send them to us using the mobile app. Just a two-click process. The AI engine would assess the images, assess the extent of damage, and they send the amount to the customer. The customer gives his consent, and then the money is paid out. So what took days, happened in 20 minutes. So that was one way in which we were able to completely transform customer experience. The other is, if you look at our customers, who come to us, and we have a massive franchise because we offer all forms of insurance in every part of the country. Earlier, they would come to us through traditional call centers and through a myriad channels. COVID was the inflection point. So today, one in every two customers who comes to us, get service through AI-driven bots. And what we find as a result of that is that our customer satisfaction scores have gone up, and we are able to give top-notch servicing. We have the industry's highest NPS as well as the lowest grievance ratio from the regulator's perspective. So so in essence, if you look at your query, I think it's the area of customer facing paradigms, that we have seen maximum benefit from AI.
Okay. Vaibhav, when Mr. Deepu has highlighted what they are doing in terms of building the AI core or the AI initiative that have touched different business functions of theirs. So I would come to you with a questions which is fundamentally about building the AI core. So the when we are talking about AI core, the conversation suddenly tends to get complex very quickly. Now, from your perspective, what does simplifying AI actually mean for enterprises today? And why is this simplification so critical before the scale?
Thank you. And I think what Mr. Deepu just mentioned about and gave the experience about or shared the use case on the customer experience, I think, connects with that with what we were just talking about, customer first, right? But however, to your question, Soma, when we look about the complexity, how can customers or enterprises rather simplify? So first and foremost, I think the important element is whatever are your environments, how are you able to centrally manage it? Okay, the first and foremost, but when I look at it, okay, from an enterprise point of view, if I'm able to deploy across different environments, am I able to centrally manage it? How can I orchestrate by automation? Can I have a uniformity across all? Well, you can choose, as enterprises can choose which workloads, what use cases I want to have in different environments. However, from a behavioral point of view and from the management point of view, can I have a common orchestration and an automation which will help to decongesting, to simplify things? Another important element is on the security and compliances and user policies, because you're going to have data which is your customer data, right? It's very important that you're able to again uniformly apply all the security controls and compliances which is required to keep your data intact. You cannot have differentiated policies. Your policies has to be simple, or rather, when I say simple, that means deployable across different environments. The another element is when you are using tools, can those tools integrate with all the different platforms? That's also an equally important element, because if you are going to choose multiple tools, you are going to require different set of skill sets from people point of view and knowledge point of view, and the third element again, managing. So how can you decongest from the tool selection, which is again uh, can be deployed against across different environments, which can integrate and help you to really simplify your overall architecture on AI.
So, Mr. Deepu, a quick question for you. So, since Vaibhav was mentioning that it is about integrating people, process, technology, which part is the most, challenging part to solve when you are scaling AI or taking the AI initiative in your organization?
Yeah. See, when you talk about scaling AI in the Indian context, typically, we've seen, two areas, where, scalability, becomes a hurdle to cross. When we talk about AI, typically, we tend to, assume that, everybody speaks in English. In our country, people speak multiple languages. So it's very important to ensure that when you are deploying AI tools, especially, customer facing tools, you have them, in Indian languages as well. And that's typically where a lot of people falter, because when you look at voice to text or even text to text or text to voice, right, you'll find that typically when it comes to translation or transliteration, the end product may not be necessarily accurate. So that's something, which we worked on. And, I think that's one of the reasons, we were able to scale up, because ultimately you have to speak the customer's language. You can't expect the customer to come to you, and learn a new language. So I think that's, one hurdle from a scalability point of view. The other is, when you look at firms' ambitions, right? Everybody talks about AI and the fact that, it's just going to scale up. But you need to make sure that you have the right infrastructure, and even to the point that Vaibhav made, even in terms of security, because one incident, and today, we live in a zero tolerance world, right? Your reputation can be in tatters the very next minute. So having the right internal infrastructure whereby, you have the right guardrails, you can't afford to have hallucination, you can't afford to have, security issues. And sometimes, in the quest to be ambitious, we overlook the basics. So I think an extremely strong, arm, eye on the basics, it's very important. And I'll give an analogy, right? You can't drive a car fast if you don't have a good enough brake, right? So I think that's why, you need to have good infrastructure and speak the customer's language. I think if you can take broadly, if you can take care of these two factors, you can scale AI.
Right, that's an interesting, really interesting point. We have a few more questions to Vaibhav and to Mr. Deepu both. But before we move to the next question, let's make this conversation a little bit, a little more interactive. For the audience, we are dropping a quick quiz in the chat box. If you open your chat box, you'll be able to see the question. We will be dropping 3 questions one by one when we are running this conversation. We will announce that. And you can take a look in your chat box and you can answer those questions. And whoever is giving the right answer and who is giving it first they will win an exciting prize from us. We will announce it later after the conversation. So please take a look in the chat box. Hope you are able to see.
I really like the analogy which Deepu just mentioned about you can drive a car without brakes, right? That's so apt, so right. Because it's not a journey that you have to be just with speed. You need to have control. And
Right,
that's so very important.
right.
Yeah.
So coming on the control part, based on your experience, this question is open for both. Based on your experience, what are the most common challenges you see when organizations try to adopt, operationalize, and scale AI across functions?
I guess Weber can go first, and then I'll, come in once he's done.
Sure, sure. So, well, not this specifically only for AI, but I think the most important element that we see is when you want to go on a journey of AI, the controls around data. How the quality of data, and then when you want to make it connected with multiple systems, how securely are you trying to do it? So that's one of the key element because processing, while you can do that compute, you can use different tools, but how are your data pipelines been connected? How securely are those? Have you put the enough guardrails, which is important from your business point of view? And then again, when you come to BFSI, the regulatory aspect, there could it is possible that the regulatory might come with certain additional guardrails at a point in time in future. But as an enterprise who have seen a journey for last at least a decade or more, and the kind of vulnerabilities, have you thought through enough and tried and at possibly at the lowest level and to scale it to the highest level? Deepu, your point of view.
Yeah, I'll just add, a couple of dimensions. See, when we talk about, AI or automation or technology, I think sometimes rather than just, going into the tool right away, we need to understand, the cultural context in which we operate. And one example is, when it comes to people, our tolerance for machine failure is far lower than our tolerance for human failure. If a human being, for example, calculates wrongly, we don't mind it. But a calculator can never make a mistake, right? You just expect it to work 100% right. So the moment you deploy technology, people expect 100% consistency and 100% accuracy. And I think that's where we need to be prepared for, because when it's AI and you expect it to replicate human beings, we don't want it to replicate human vulnerabilities or human failures. So I think we need to understand that cultural context, and that's a big challenge. The other is, since there is pressure on AI, from stakeholders and shareholders and boards, a lot of people, it's like the earlier rush for gold. People rushing to do AI without necessarily understanding what are the right use cases. And then what happens is, because you've deployed it either for the wrong use case or you deployed it ahead of time, it ends up being a white elephant. You need to clearly understand, what is the use case, and then deploy AI. So, we always say customer first, or customer need first, and then the right tool, in which case you can scale up. So at least while I can go on and on, but I think these two challenges, to my mind, if people can understand, that they can really come out with meaningful use cases and scale up AI very rapidly.
When we are talking about what to do first and what to do next, step by step. So, my question to you, both, as companies move from pilots to production grade AI, what are the foundational elements they absolutely must get right at the infrastructure layer? What do you think?
Yeah, let me add to that. I think very valid point. I think fundamentally once you are done with your testing, okay, when you want to take it to the large scale or from a production point of view, there are few elements. One, I'm sure enterprises would look at it. What are those areas? A is the balance between because these are not your traditional workloads. These workloads require a good amount of compute, right? These are compute hungry, and obviously your data. So how are you able to balance between your compute and storage elements? Okay, we spoke about the security element. How securely have you created profiles for your teams who will access what kind of data? Have you given enough controls to them so that they're exactly able to take a decision, are exactly able to take the actions which is required? The third element is on what kind of architectures are you going to, because today when you look at the microservice based architecture, so beyond market, when you're creating those architectures, are your architectures suitable from the new age development with different tool integrations with different platforms? How are you able to do that? The third element is again being on hybrid, because no enterprise today is in a single environment. Have you designed it to run on a hybrid environment? Okay. Can there be interoperability between different environments? I think these are some of the key, elements which just came to my mind when enterprises are taking a decision or planning to scale it up.
No, I think Vaibhav has touched upon, absolutely the right elements. I think these are typically, what you look for when you are moving from the POC stage, to the production stage, because you find a lot of people get stuck at the POC stage. So I'll try and bring in some new dimensions. I'll not
Yeah.
repeat, all the wonderful points that he's made. See, one is when you are moving from the POC stage to the production stage, one you need to also check, if you have tested everything, because a lot of people during POC, they come out with what we call a minimum viable product, and they check for basic functionality because there's pressure to go to market. And then when you go to the market with a full scale product without having tested it, then you figure out that maybe the core product works, but the bells and whistles are not working. And then, you need to roll back. And when you roll it back, it creates, negative sentiment among customers. So I think it's important to test everything before you scale it up. I think that's again, an important element. The other is, going to the point that Vaibhav covered in terms of, your architectural configuration. I think for scaling up, you just need to figure out, how do you want to take it up, right? I mean, do you want to do a do it yourself model? Should it be a centralized model? Should it be a decentralized model? It's very important to figure out, how to empower people, because the team which is working on the project is aware of all the nuances. But when you scale it up, the audience at large, they may not be aware of, all the nuances. And that's typically, where you find, cracks begin to appear. So I think culturally, if you can take care of these two factors, in addition to the, 4 or 5 technical aspects that, Vaibhav mentioned, if you put it all together, then you can ensure a successful rollout from POC to production.
Yeah, valid points, Mr. Deepu. Before we get more such insights from you, here is something more for the audience. I can see they are participating in the quiz wonderfully.
Yeah, quite
And
engaging. I
Yeah,
think.
quite engaging. So we are dropping the second question in the chat box for the audience. Please take a look and try to give your answer in the chat box. So coming to the conversation that we were having earlier, so we discussed the challenges the organizations face when they move from pilots to production. Now coming to the the other part. So Vaibhav, this question is for you. When enterprises accelerate their AI journeys, how how can they simplify their infrastructure complexity? You were mentioning about cloud environments. So especially if we consider hybrid and multi-cloud environments, would you like to touch upon the few pointers how they can do this to simplify the complexity?
Sure. So, and in fact, I'll take a thread from what Mr. Deepu mentioned. One is when you're moving from POC to scale. Okay. At the POC stage, possibly you have looked at the bare minimum elements from an architectural point of view, from the engineering point of view, and from data. However, when you want to scale it up, okay, what's the scale that you're looking at? It's very important that you have to look at a bigger picture. While the POCs or the test cases could be on a miniature form, but the canvas has to be painted big so that when you want to scale it up, you know what are the areas where it can have an impact. Let's take a simple example. When you are taking into production to your customers, okay, the first and foremost thing is how are you able to manage your data, the explosion of data. The second element is how are you able to be available for the responses to the customer in terms of the network latency, in terms of your application growth, because sometimes it would so happen that your application is not able to take the kind of engagement, let's say what we see today right now, when you have put the questions, the participants are immediately responding to it. Likewise, when you're taking to your customers, if you should be able to do some dipstick as to what could be the possible response, for which what could be the architecture that I will be requiring it. Right now, you must have done some testing using some lower end, not I wouldn't say lower end, but the bare minimum computational power, minimum on the network side, bare minimum on the application side. But when you are expecting a 10x or let's say 100x growth, okay, when you take it to the customers, have you really looked into all those bells and whistles, which is required when you are taking it as a customer face? Because that one single mistake is going to tarnish the overall experience and the brand. I think that's a view which I would want to share.
Okay. So another question that comes to my mind that when you engage with enterprises, obviously you have a lot of customers in this space. What's the most common gap you observe in their AI infrastructure?
I wouldn't say gaps. I think most of them, not all though, most of them are in the phase of uh, from the age stage of skeptical to exploring. Okay,
Hmm.
where the decision differs or where the decision making has to happen is what is the most suitable uh, architecture which is good for me. And that's where a little bit of chicken egg situation arises. And I would, in fact, also want to take inputs from Mr. Deepu that how have they really done it? Because that's a real life case, right? Because when we engage with the customer, there are multiple elements, but there is a way to solve it. Some method to this entire madness, right? How do we put those jigsaw puzzle in place? It depends upon how the enterprises are sharing their big picture with us, because as I said, it starts small, but once you have a big picture in mind, you know what are the stages through which it will go through, and at each level, at each maturity of the situation, what are the elements which is required. And these could be very simple ones. Let's say simple as even as a bandwidth, right? Your bandwidth, you might have started with something small, but when you take it to the customers, it is going to exponentially blow up. Have you thought about it? Once you have thought, have you planned about it? How is it going to get executed? Having just a blueprint is not important. The execution of the blueprint and to scale that blueprint is also equally important. I think those are the areas which we usually discuss with enterprises. We come across those gaps and we try to fix those gaps.
Okay. Mr. Tipu, I have a different question for you.
Sure.
So when we are talking about AI core and building the foundation and getting your infrastructure layer right, so we started with the customer, with how you are actually transforming your customer-facing initiatives with AI. You were just mentioning that. Now, I have a question for you. That is, where do you see the biggest customer-facing impact of AI in insurance over the next decade?
Yeah. So when you look at the impact of AI, you have to go take a step back and then look at when the entire insurance value chain, and then see what are the moments of truth from a customer's perspective, and that's typically where AI can come in and make a difference. So if you look at the claim process, right, that is the reason you buy an insurance policy. You buy an insurance policy because you don't consume the product immediately, right? Unlike many products, an insurance policy is consumed when you apply for the claim. Otherwise, you're not consuming the product. So at that time, a genuine customer, wants the claim to be paid as quickly as possible. And from a firm's perspective, that is typically the gate where a lot of fraudsters, try to enter the system. And the firm, of course, has to ensure that it ferret out the fraudster, and therefore there are checks and balances, which come in. Now we need to balance this, this attempt, to ferret out frauds as well as pay genuine customers. So which is why AI can make a big difference. One is and we've been seeing plenty of use cases across. If AI can help in reading the huge amount of literature very quickly, it can shorten cycle times. The other is, when it comes to adjudication, and claims, you need to take a decision, which is where you can go from, typical AI, which is traditional AI or Gen AI, to agentic AI, because the real use case of agentic AI is in decision making. And if we can bring in that, then, you can shorten this entire cycle, which means you cut down on frauds and you also, pay genuine customers quickly. So if that can be done, it can transform the insurance life cycle over the next, few years. And the other area then will be, this is the biggest area, and the other is, when you look at the whole life cycle, there are various areas today where you apply intelligence, right? So earlier you used to have something known as robotic automation. Today move to intelligent automation. So if we can bring in AI there, it can just replicate what normal human intelligence does, and thereby make a big difference to the customers at large.
Okay, that's interesting. So we will continue this discussion further, but I have something for the audience too. I can see a lot of participation in the chat box for our quiz. So we have dropped the last quiz question of the day in the chat box for you. Please take a look and answer. Just a sec, let me see. And yeah, the question is there. So coming to the conversation, I have another question that, when obviously we have a lot of upcoming leaders in among our participants today. So I have a question for you, Mr. Deepu. If you had to advise other CIOs who are starting their AI journey, what one thing should they simplify first, according to you?
See, it's very straightforward. You can't apply intelligence to a broken process. So what you first need to do, is to get a very clear baseline, and then streamline that to the extent possible, using classic principles of re-engineering. And once you have, a very clean baseline, then you bring in AI, then you are able to ensure that, you get maximum value, for investment, because you don't want AI to basically focus on basics, right? You can do that at your end. And then once you clean it up and set it up, then AI comes in, where you have maximum friction, or where you need maximum intelligence to be applied, and then take it up. So I think that would be, in one line, if you ask me, that would be one advice I would give to anybody who's starting off on this journey.
Okay, and this question is for you both. So there is always a debate or a concern rather. So it always comes to your mind: should AI core begin with strong infrastructure first or with clear business use cases? Uh, how do you see it? You have great vantage point. If you can, elaborate that for our audience.
I think I already answered that, earlier as well, that it
Yeah.
always starts with, a use case.
Hmm.
Because see, it's something like, giving somebody food, right? When you're hungry, we feed you. Similarly, we need to check, what is it that you want to have, right? What kind of cuisine that you want to have. I may make the best food in the world, but if you're not hungry, or if it's something which doesn't suit your palate, right? Let's say I make very good non-vegetarian food and you like vegetarian food, it's not
Hmm.
going to serve the purpose. So AI or a tool is ultimately a means to solve a business problem. So I need to know what is my business problem, or I need to know if an experience is not created before. And once I'm clear about the value proposition, then AI becomes a means to an end to take that forward with maximum value in the minimal possible time.
Yeah, right. Vaibhav, you want to add something to it?
Sorry, there was a little bit of glitch in between, which I could not get the question very clear. Sorry, there's some network glitch here.
No, we were asking about, asking Mr. Deepu on this point, that there is always a concern among the, leaders or whoever is in the charge of the transformation. So should an AI core begin with strong infrastructure first or with clear business use cases?
I think it's going to be a parallel.
Mm-hmm.
However, what are the business outcomes? What is the purpose? I think once the purpose is clear, then you are able to take a decision on the infrastructure. But if
Right.
your outcomes of or your business alignment outcomes, your use cases are not clear, the decision on the infrastructure is going to be really difficult. So it's the situation where you can't take the decision in silos.
Right.
It's more of a chain reaction. Yeah, but from a priority point of view, it is first the use case. What are the business outcomes that you're looking at?
Yeah. Just the way Mr. Deepu was
Yeah.
putting it with
Yes.
great
Correct.
examples.
Yeah. He has got fantastic analogy. I must really appreciate.
Right. We were
Thank
enjoying
you.
that from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just dropping in all those fantastic analogies.
That's the knack of simplifying things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks to both of you. I think it's been a good conversation.
Thank you. And thank you both for this, continuing this insightful discussion. While we are continuing this, we will also open the floor for audience question. We will take audience questions. So whoever is participating, I can see a lot of participants who are actually engaging in a fun way in the chat box. We are now opening the floor for audience question. Please, feel free to type them in the Q&A window. We will take those questions. We'll just take a pause to see if we have any question. We are waiting for the questions. Don't you have any questions? Quickly type in.
As Vaibhav said, it's a Friday evening, right?
Or should we say that it was the session was so simplified that I think they got all the possible queries answers, right?
That's a good way of
No,
putting
we
it.
always no. We always have questions. So we got our first question that is for Mr. Yeah, first is for Vaibhav. It is Sify is a giant in the industry. Would it is from Samir Tiwari.
Mhm.
Um, Sify is a giant in the industry. Would love some guidance on how to scale as an AI startup, given the huge capital needed for hardware. The first question. Over to you, Vaibhav.
Oh, fantastic. I think from a as a startup, okay, and who is into the space of AI, I think the good thing is today you don't have to really invest heavily. You can start small, and that's where Sify brings all the underlying infrastructural capabilities on a very open. I mean, in the most simplest way, you can start small, you see the success and you grow accordingly. So I think that's the most simplified way of by way of you bringing your domain knowledge to test it, create those platforms and use cases which can be taken to the customers, to the enterprises. And as I said earlier, the whole intent is how can we create a partner ecosystem. So that's the way to progress, I guess.
Okay. Our next question is from, oh, yeah. Siddhapura Dhamik. How can AI be used to optimize ISP network traffic and reduce congestion during peak hours? I think this is also for Vaibhav, I guess.
Yes, it's from Vaibhav, clearly Vaibhav.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I can say is, and I think we can also have a separate session on this, but what I would want to answer here, we ourselves have enabled a lot of AI ops capabilities within our networks, wherein we are able to optimize the entire traffic by understanding a lot of data movements and intelligence, so that it is more available for the customers when it is needed, and especially when you're able to predict what is the peak hours in a day, in a week, because there are seasons which we have learned over the years. And how do we make it more available during those peak hours, not just during the day, but during certain season, weeks, or festival time, so that it doesn't impact the customer experience. So there are ways and means which we have done it. We have a fantastic, strong network team who has really made use of it. So before putting to preach, we have practiced it for last at least 1 or 2 years, where we have seen a good amount of optimization. We have seen good customer experience on the network side.
Okay, thank you, Vaibhav. And we have an interesting question. I think Mr. Deepu can take this up. For a small enterprise, you have a lot of experience in dealing this, I guess. For a small enterprise, what should be the AI adoption approach wherein the tech team is very thin? Yeah, a small tech team. Yeah, how they get
So
it.
I think if you notice, Vaibhav in the beginning said, start small. I think I'll take a cue from that. In my earlier company as well, we would talk about think big, start small, scale fast. So I think if you take that model, and if you have a small tech team, if you are able to focus on getting the right use case, do all the heavy lifting upfront. I think a lot of people do the heavy lifting later on. It's important to have conversations, figure out who are the promoters, who are the detractors, what are the potential roadblocks, overcome them, and start small, and then take it up. The other thing which a tech team can do is, if it's small, is across the entire value chain there are various points where you may find other players, startups, or players in the ecosystem who can do it better than you. So then, on those areas, you can have partnership, so that it's a stitched product where, there's a core delivery from the in-house team, and there are points where, external parties come in. That way, keep the team lean. You start small, you figure out, how to go about it, and then you scale it up. Then you're not spending time on rework. You're not spending time on, managing failures. So that way, you keep the team lean, yet you have maximum productivity.
Yeah. That's what you get when you have uh, 25 years of experience in managing enterprises. Thanks, Mr. Deepu. And we have another question that was from the last question was from Bharat Kumar. I forgot to mention the name. The next question is from Tarun Dureja. With evolution happening in AI every day, how do you govern the need and speed of upgrading your AI models, etc., in day-to-day business?
I think that's for Vaibhav.
Certainly, I will chime in here, and I will also look for some inputs coming from Deepu, because when put to practice, how is it really happening? So my thought and my suggestion here is, see, technological change and upgrades. I think we everybody have seen from the time we have been into enterprises, right? What I would suggest is, when you start your journey, what are the most suitable ones? What are the right ones? Is a evaluation that the enterprise has to do. Models are going to be, new models are going to be made available maybe every passing day, right? But that does not mean that every new model is only for you. The first and foremost, once you are clear on the outcomes, which are the most useful models which are going to be suitable for your business. Once you do that, once you pass that stage, okay, once you are clear on the test cases, tested it, taken to the next level, then is what you start looking out for the newer models. Else, You'll be always in the phase of testing models, but not taking it to the actual business outcome.
Okay. We have some questions which are not related to the topic today. But I will, ask you anyway. So one question is from Rajesh. AI is known to have flaws and may generate incorrect outputs. What controls need to be in place to ensure 100% accuracy? You can just touch upon the topic since it is not related to the topic.
Yeah. So I'll just answer that very quickly. See, one thing we've seen, when we deployed, various, AI models is, firstly, two things. One is you need to be very clear about what is your end outcome. It's not about saying that, there is pressure and therefore I need to deploy AI and you force fit AI, which is typically when, these issues happen. And be very clear about, what is the customer problem you are solving or what is the business problem you are solving and how do you come out of it. The other thing which we've seen, in Gen AI is, if you can deploy multiple models, because each model, the model learns, right, and then it becomes better and better. So the more you get into specialize, the lesser the hallucination. So the same way that you apply specialization in humans, right, you can do that in models. And then we've seen that, we've been able to control our hallucination, and therefore, our accuracy has been up. So I think, these are two areas, at least, these are two things, which have worked for us.
So we are nearing the end of the session today. I will just take one last question before wrapping it up. So this is really for you, Vaibhav. It is from Shumon Ghosh. It is about how does a CP handle data classification as part of the data and infrastructure prong in AI, in your AI adoption framework, and what tools or processes do you use to ensure data quality and governance before AI operationalization?
Oh, I think he's from a engineering background, from the data engineering, and I would, right now may not be able to completely answer by justifying, because that is something which our engineering team really does it day in day out. We have a dedicated team in identifying, working on it, testing it before we really put across to our customers, our enterprises, and start engaging with them. So I think it's more of an engineering question, and wouldn't be able to respond by the justification.
I have one quick query rather. It is not a question. Is it possible for a student grade, I think from 9 to 12, to visit Sify DC facility?
Yeah, I think I just saw that question, very interesting, and it could be really interesting how we can really
Can
do.
become a parent also.
Yeah, absolutely. Because today, it's very important that even kids at that age really look at how things happen. And I can relate to this because today they feel everything is on mobile, from a click it happens. But they really have to see what happens in the back end to make things happen at a click. I think maybe I'll circulate this word internally, and if there is some way that we can really organize a tour for kids of that age to visit the data centers, that will be really fantastic. Sure.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And we will just, before wrapping it up, we will just announce the quiz winners for today. Vaibhav, would you like to announce, or do you want me to just
Soma,
announce?
you can please go ahead.
Okay, for the first question, the winner is Mr. Rajesh Pandita. And for the second question, the winner is Mr. G. Venkatesh. And for the third question is Shumon Ghosh. Okay, so here are the winners. So as we are nearing the end of the conversation today, so I will just take time out to thank you both for this insightful discussion. That was a great discussion, and we will just before we wrap it up, here are a few key takeaways from the conversation. So The first, if we just mention three key takeaways. So AI is not just about models; it's about foundations. And the second is simplification accelerates everything from pilots to production. And the third key takeaway from the conversation today is business value and strong infrastructure must move together. We hope this session gave you clarity and direction in your AI journey. A big thank you to our speakers and to everyone who joined us today. Have a great day. And if you have any question, please feel free to get in touch with our team. They'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye.